So hi guys, we're here to talk about the Physics Society. We're committee members. We have Amelia, our president, and Tasman, our secretary, and me, the publicity officer. So we want to start with talking about who we are first. So basically, the cool thing about the Physics Society is that we do weekly talks, sometimes even more, and lots of socials. So the idea is whether or not you're a physics student, you get to learn about physics if you're interested, and get to talk to other people who are interested in physics.
Yeah, we also do weekly classes as well, which is pretty cool. If you want something a bit more kind of like in depth, they tend to be longer than the talks. That's cool as well, and anyone can come in the university. Yeah, so hi, I'm Tasman, as Amanda said, and I'm a third-year undergraduate doing physics. And yeah, I've had a lot of fun with the Physics Society.
I'm Amelia. I'm a second-year undergraduate. I was the social secretary, and now I'm the president.
Amazing. So I have a bit of a different background. I'm not an undergrad. I came here to Oxford to do my PhD in a completely different department, and I did an undergrad in physics though, so I wanted to stay in touch with that, and I found the Physics Society to do that. So this is not just the Society for Physics Undergrad, is what I'm trying to say. Right. So that's how I got involved. Were you guys just did you guys just get into the club because it was the Physics Society and you were physics students, or did you have a more interesting story?
I mean, for me, I definitely knew about Physics Society, and sort of people had told me, especially, you know, because Oxford has like, you know, contacts with a lot of big researchers and things like that. They can get really cool people to talk about like current research, which you wouldn't necessarily get in your undergraduate course. So I'd heard about it being really cool, and then I think in my first year I sort of felt, oh, I might not know enough to go. But then in my second year I saw a talk which was about the emergence of magnetic monopoles, and I just thought, oh, this is like really, really interesting, and like even if I'm out of my depth, I'll go anyway. And it was really, really good, and I just kept on going to talks that I thought sounded interesting. And then when the secretary role came up, I thought, oh, it'd be really cool to organise those talks. So, you know, I gave it a go.
I put myself on the mailing list at my freshers fair, and then didn't really bother to open the emails for a while. But it was a couple of socials that I went to at first, and because I do meet people in lectures, but you don't always get the chance to really talk to people and get to know them. So I really enjoyed being at socials where it was normal to talk about physics, and then getting more friends within the physics department to work with. So in my case, it was that the person who had been social secretary, who I was friends with, was leaving the role. So I decided to take over from them, and I've been able to meet even more physicists now, and really enjoyed staying involved with the club.
Yeah.
So the moral of the story is open our emails.
Yeah, I would definitely second that about meeting people. It's really nice. Obviously, when you're in college, you're around people who do all sorts of different subjects, and I love that as well. Actually, it's like one of my favorite things about college. And like obviously, I'm also really good friends with the people who do physics in my college as well. But it's actually, as Amelia says, really nice to meet people who have either very similar interests to you, or can just sort of relate to your, you know, maybe you've got a lot of work on, and like people from other colleges, you know, it's just a really nice community to have people who are doing the same thing as you.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's sometimes hard to get outside of your bubble, and Oxford is, because of the college system, pretty great for it, but society plays such a big role.
Yeah, it's true. So I really like the Physics Society because, as I said, in my first year, I was a bit intimidated by all things kind of physics. You know, it's been this long run up to get into Oxford, and everything was sort of like quite scary. So that's kind of why I refrained from going for a bit, because I was like, oh, everyone's going to know so much stuff, and I'm going to be completely, you know, left to my own devices, not understanding anything. But actually, it's completely different. Physics Society is probably the best place to meet people and sort of not feel intimidated by physics, because I mean, also physics is one of those subjects, like the more you hear about it, the more you talk to people about it, the more you understand. So even if you feel a bit intimidated, it's actually completely the opposite of that. Everyone tends to be really friendly, especially when you're in a society where it's a bit more personal. Like, you sometimes, because all the talks are so specialized, sometimes you'll get a really big audience for one, and then less people will hear about another one. But then actually some of the smaller talks can be really great for meeting new people and then socializing afterwards, say, like, because we normally have pizza after talks, so it's actually really nice to talk to people and get to know people from other years, from other colleges, because otherwise you wouldn't really have that much of a chance to meet them, especially sort of like within physics. So yeah, I think society is really good for that.
Yeah, definitely. I agree that the events are quite varied. So there are probably some people who seem to come to a lot of the talks or a lot of the socials, but it's also definitely possible to only come once or twice when something seems really interesting to you. And because there are Thursday evening events, there are Wednesday mid-afternoon events, there are occasionally events on other days of the week. And definitely there are going to be different people who can come to those different events. Different types of events appeal to different members.
Yeah.
Right. I think we should also talk a bit about what kind of talks we have, because we keep saying that we do these weekly classes. So this semester special, we only had our weekly talks. We had 2 talks about exoplanets, which is always fun. So planets are in other solar systems, which is astrophysics always is fun, and it's very accessible. So I'm always glad to see that we had those. But we also had a very theoretical quantum lecture on many particle systems with Fabian Esler. That was really good. We had a good turnout for that. People found that very interesting. And then just this week we had a talk on rapid virus detection, which is super current, and it's just amazing to see like experts talking about super current research, like stuff that's just about to be published. And then more general talks that people are often interested because they hear about these topics, but then never really learn about details. So our last week, our talk on quantum computing, I guess, falls in this category. Like, people who hear about it, maybe they're lucky and are have access to a lecture on it, but sometimes they don't and they want to learn more, and that's the perfect opportunity for that. So that was kind of the highlights of this term. What are your favorite talks from like past terms?
That's a good question. I definitely say like the magnetic monopole talk really inspired me. Like, I put it on I actually put it on all of my sort of personal statement type things when I'm applying for things, because it actually like really inspired me to like look into I had never heard about the physics of complex systems before, and that was what the topic was all about for that talk, even though I didn't know that from like, that's not really why I went. I just wanted to know about magnetic monopoles and whether they could exist. But then it turned out like completely catapulting me in a different direction, which was really awesome and unexpected. So yeah, you never know when you can be enthused by something.
Yeah.
One of the really approachable ones in Hilary term, there was one by Simon Clark, I think his name is, who's makes a lot of YouTube videos at Exeter, and used to be the president of the Physics Society when he was at Oxford, apparently.
Ooh, didn't know that.
So it was great fun to have a past member come back. And also it was great to see lots of people who had maybe heard some things about climate science but might not have been that much of an expert in physics, coming to hear something which is definitely very relevant to many of our lives.
Yeah, I would definitely, just adding, because you said it was about climate science, and I think that that's one of the really great things about Physics Society that I sort of mentioned before, is that you can get to see sort of current research that's going on, and often those topics will kind of only be covered in a course quite later on, because you need to learn the basics before you learn how it's being applied in current research. I mean, physics is such an old subject, you really need to learn the basics, right? So you sort of spend your first and second year, sort of like first year is, mainly before the 20th century, and then second year you go into the 20th century, but actually if you want to get to current research, then you have to wait until third and fourth year. So actually it's really great to hear about things like climate physics, which also before I went to university, I didn't know that was a thing. I thought it was geography students who studied climate and weather and things like that. But actually it's like such a physics topic and I had no idea. And also biophysics is like such an up and coming thing. Like physics has always been involved in biology sort of inevitably because of like microscopes and stuff, but I didn't really realize how influential it's being at the moment. So that's also really cool to get to hear about that kind of stuff. In the past, there have also been talks. I know there was a talk last year on financial physics, so how you can use some of the maths that you use in physics in finance, because one of the main equations, the Black-Scholes equation in finance, is actually pretty similar to the Schrödinger equation, so there's a lot there. So it's not also just for people who want to necessarily go into pure physics as well. Physics is useful for so many different areas of just, you know, everything, like especially having maths and the ability to apply maths is so valuable. So Physics Society, we hope to cater to all of those things.
Yeah, definitely. So it covers both how areas of physics within physics, which we don't get a lot of exposure to in undergrad, and then ways of using a physics knowledge, which are not necessarily physics.
So you might be surprised how broad our talk topics are. So we should say now, if people are interested, they should probably look at our Facebook page, because that's where all our events will be published and it's most easy to keep track of. But if you don't have Facebook, we do have a website and a newsletter to kind of make it more easy for you to kind of follow what's going on each week. And as we say, you can come every week, or you can just come when there's that one topic that you want to learn about, and hopefully you'll find good people.
Yeah, I think that's the kind of main thing. There's a range of people who come to speak. There are also a range of people who come to FysSoc events and are members. It's really great. You don't just always mix with the same kind of person. Like, I mean, yeah, we're difficult to tell from this video, but we are fun people. Difficult to tell over Zoom, but we like fun as well. We don't just work all the time, and this is just sort of, it is actually a really fun thing to do in your spare time. Yeah.
This term, all of our talks have been online, and hopefully we'll be able to go back to having in-person events in Michaelmas, but if not, if some of them still have to be online, then it will be possible for anyone to join, even if they haven't started at Oxford yet.
That's a really great thing to do. The talk that we just had is going up on YouTube as well, so if you're interested, you can go on our YouTube channel and find that talk there. That was the virus detection talk, which is really, really relevant. And some of the research talks about is, you know, in the past few weeks, so that's really awesome. There are also a few more videos of previous talks on there, and we have...
They're a bit old though, but...
they are a bit old. They're a bit old. Talks haven't been recorded for a while, but I don't know, we're planning some things as well to put on there, possibly over the summer, so that should be exciting. Yeah, so our last talk was recorded, so that's going to go up on our YouTube channel shortly, so you can follow us on our YouTube channel, follow our Facebook page if you want to really be up to date with what we're doing. If you don't have Facebook, then as Amanda said, go on our website, because that is also up to date on all our events and what we're doing. We should have a resources page up there soon as well. If you want any sort of, you know, extra.
Yeah, let's talk about that. What's the idea behind the resource page? So we know that because these things are often surprisingly related to physics, even though you might have heard of it, we want to start asking our speakers about what resources they would recommend, maybe books or websites or the sorts, to get in touch with, like, to get started with the subject that they were talking about. So we want to start collecting that, and hopefully that'll be a very good resource for especially undergrads who don't really know what they want to specialize in, or maybe do know what they want to specialize in but don't know where to start. And then hopefully eventually also we can expand that to kind of more general resources. So for example, we heard that a lot of people want to learn to code but they don't know where to start, so we're hoping to kind of make that a collection that really is helpful for undergrads.
So to all the people out there who are interested in physics, check us out. Hopefully you'll find something that interests you, and we will be happy to hear from you and have you in our society.
Bye.